In this video, I'm going to go through a couple more examples of expanding double brackets, otherwise known as expanding quadratics. As you've seen from the last video now, it's a standard representation of how we have them, with two brackets and x at the start of each bracket. In this case, we're going to be working with x minus 6 as our first bracket and x plus 4 as our second bracket. So again, I'm going to use the half moon technique, which, as you've seen from the past couple of videos now, involves drawing 4 lines, and it gives us this kind of half moon, crescent moon shape going all the way around. Each of these lines represents a multiplication. So the first line we do is the shorter of the two lines on top, which is x times x. That gives us x squared. The next line we do is the longer of the two on top. So in this case, x times by positive 4. This is positive 4x. Now we move on to the shorter of the two lines underneath, and this is minus 6 times by x. Don't forget, this is a negative term here. It's got a minus in front of it. So if you struggle dealing with minuses, one of the useful ways of dealing with them is to handle the symbol first. We've got a minus times by a positive. We know that term's going to be negative, and now we can just forget about the negatives and the positive. We can just do 6 times x, which is 6x. And then finally, we got minus 6 times by positive 4. Again, that's a negative times a positive, so it's a negative answer. And then 6 times 4 is 24. Okay, so that's the expanded version. Now we have to simplify. So as we've seen already, x squared stays the same, as does our number, in this case, minus 24. And now we're going to do 4x minus 6x. So again, if you have trouble dealing with negatives, a great way of dealing with them when we're adding and subtracting is to use a number line. So in this case, we're starting at positive 4. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're minusing 6. So we're going back down 6 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is going to bring us out at minus 2. So the combination of these two, 4x minus 6x, is minus 2x. And this is your final answer. There's nothing more you need to do. Okay, let's have a look at another example. In this case, we're actually going to use the letter y just to show you that the principle remains exactly the same, and it doesn't really matter which letter you're asked to use. So in this case, we're going to use y in both brackets, and we're going to use y plus 7 as one bracket and y minus 1 in another bracket. So again, let's run through the half moon technique. We draw a pair of lines on top from the first part of the first bracket, so in this case now it's a y, to both parts of the second bracket, and then we do the same thing underneath, but from the second part of the first bracket, in this case the 7. Okay, so expanding this out, we're going to do y times y. Remember, the shorter of the two lines first gets us y squared, then the longer of the two lines on top, which is y times by minus 1 here. So don't forget that 1 is negative, so this just gets us minus y. You can put the 1 in there if you want to, but you really don't need to. You can just leave it as minus y. That's the same as minus 1y. Now the shorter of the two lines underneath, which is 7 times by y. Both are positive, so in this case it's just 7y. And then the longer of the two lines underneath, which is 7 times by minus 1. Now again, if you want to deal with the symbols first, that's a good way of doing it. This is a positive term, this is a negative term, so when you times the two together, the answer is going to be negative. And then you can just think, right, what's 7 times 1? That's just 7. Okay, so that's the expanded version. Now simplifying, the y squared isn't going to change, the number isn't going to change, that's minus 7 still. And now we're going to combine these two y parts into one. Now this is just minus 1y plus 7y. So again, you can go to a number line if you want to, plot out on a number line and see what you get. Another technique that I mentioned from a couple of videos ago is never be afraid to swap these two terms around. Sometimes having the negative term first confuses people. So you can very easily swap these two terms around as long as you keep the symbol that's associated with each term with that term. So the 7y here is positive, the y here is negative, so you've got to keep those symbols with those terms. So if I'm going to write the y second, I have to make sure it's negative, and then I can write the positive 7y first. Now you can see 7y minus y. It becomes a lot more obvious what our result is here. It's just positive 6y. this is your end result. There's nothing more left to do. In the next video, I'm going to show you a couple more examples for expanding double brackets, including examples where both numbers are negative inside the brackets. So I'll see you in the next video.